All right, thank you for staying with the Monday Report. The discussion of the town hall begins right now. We're talking about climate change, its effects, and the mitigation measures. We know that the loss and damage fund declared during the COP28 is amounting to about $792 million US. That's about 126 billion Kenya shillings. But what does that mean for the local Mwananchi? This is the conversation we're having right here in Nyeri at a time when scientists are predicting 2024 to be likely the hottest year in history. But are we ready for the effects of climate change? That is the conversation we're having here at the Dedan Kimathi University of Technology in Nyeri. Let me start by introducing my guest from my farthest right. Fredrick Kinyua is the CEC Water and Irrigation in Nyeri County. Thank you very much for making time. Kamuya Ngarwa is here, is a clan elder and a leader in Nyeri County. Thank you very much for making time. Pleasure. His Excellency Mutahi Kahiga, Governor for Nyeri, is with us. Thank you very much for making time. And Grace Kimaru, climate change advocate and founder, Foster Green CBO. Thank you very much for making time. And Kamuya, I'll start with you on this. What have you seen over the years in terms of climate change? Because I know you've been around for quite some time.
Thank you, Trevor. I'm humbled to be here. And greetings to all your viewers. And greetings to the members of Kiama Nyeri and nationally. Trevor, from 2018, we had a drought. That drought was so devastating that I had to sell my cows, only to remain with 3 to support the biogas production. And then something very tragic happened. Monkeys, the vervet monkeys, left the forest and came to our habitation, and now they are eating macadamias and eating coffee and destroying the basic structure of farming in my area around Gatito. So it has been very devastating, Trevor, because this thing is real. And what surprises me most is that some of these countries that are in the north, the rich countries, are refusing to give people like Governor Mutahi what we need. Therefore, it's a double tragedy. Some of us who have retired were hoping to subsidize our little income with farming. There we have it. There's drought, and then the monkeys have come. And unfortunately, when the monkeys came, they discovered that it is better to live with us than in the forest. So everything we try to plant is destroyed. It's destroyed, yeah. So those are some of the highlights, Trevor. Okay. Let me bring in His Excellency Governor here. Governor, Nyeri was among the first counties to sign the Climate Change Act. Why was that a priority for you as a leader?
Thank you very much, Trevor, and I take this opportunity to welcome you to Nyeri and to say hamjambo. Nyeri as a county is currently leading in tree cover and also in forest cover. I think we are at 45.5 tree cover, and forest cover is about 40.8. And this is not really by accident. We as a people have always been environmental conscious. Going by what you see here with Kamuya as a clan elder, and you have heard him, you have heard what he speaks about. So really, we as a people who are agricultural, this is a county that really depends. And in fact, about 75% of the population has its roots, has its economy, has its, its daily life in farming. This is really close to our hearts. Yeah. Fine, as a county, we pride ourselves in being hugged by 2 mountains, the two water towers, the Mount Kenya on one side and the Aberdares on the other. And then we are right there in the, the name Nyeri means streams of water. That is exactly where we should have been. But unfortunately, those of us who have lived beyond the years of 50 now know that what we have is not what we had. And it is really devastating for us. Yeah. We pity the young men and women in Nyeri who cannot now swim in our rivers. Yet we did swim in the rivers. We have seen dry beds. We have seen really the ravaging climate change. Yeah. Unfortunately, also for Nyeri, we have two kinds of biodiversity. We have 52% of Nyeri, which is arid and semi-arid, and then we have the other area, which is the mountains, and so really, the 48% is like what supports the 52.
Yeah.
So climate change mitigation is key to us, and even as a county and as a government, I'm sure Waziri will be telling us.
Yeah.
I think we have been in the forefront in passing legislation. Mm-hmm. I think we have almost 6 or 7 bills that we have passed in the very near past, just to try and ensure that we can put a check on what is happening.
Yeah.
So, rightfully to say, it's dear to us.
Yeah. Waziri, what would you say are the milestones achieved? Because Kamuya said something very interesting, that the people in the global north are not giving the likes of Governor Kahiga what they require to fight this. And yet these conversations are being had at a global scale. In fact, COP28 just the other day spoke about the loss and damage fund at about $792 million US, 126 billion Kenya shillings. But has that trickled down to the people of Nyeri?
Thank you, Trevor. I want to pass my regards to everyone watching. One of the things, and what His Excellency has alluded to, the availability of financing for climate actions has been the biggest challenge. Yeah. As he mentioned, so the Nyeri people are they are focused on matters of conservation. They are focused on matters of mitigating and also adapting to the vagaries of climate change. The challenge has been, and I like what COP28 came up with because it's a follow-up to what was discussed in the African Climate Summit, where we talked about accelerating financing for climate actions, and the damage and loss fund will come to assist on that. The challenge comes on how fast are the financing going to trickle down to the grassroots. Yeah. Remember what we have, the 792 pledge is actually a pledge. So far, what has been contributed is about 100. How fast will the 100, how fast will the 700 pledged trickle down to the countries that need it most? Yeah. It is projected that the vulnerable countries require more than 400 million USD annually. The pledge right now is 792, but it is not yet released to these countries that need it. Mm-hmm. So the issue is we need to commit ourselves, both globally and even at the local level. Yeah. We need to accelerate financing for climate actions. Yeah. We need to ensure that the people who are vulnerable are assisted to cope and to adapt to the climate change. Okay. Remember, we are victims, not the perpetrators of emissions that accelerate this climate change. Okay. Kenya, as it were, our contribution is very little. It's less than 0.1% of the global emission. And see the efforts that are being put in Kenya, where we have pledged now to reduce that small contribution by more than 32%. Yeah. So the commitment is there with the local people and the countries that are vulnerable. But then the perpetrators of emissions need to actually honor their pledges. Yeah. Yes.
It's interesting that you raised that. And let me bring in Grace on this. Grace, you were both at the Africa Climate Summit and the COP28. What do you see as the disconnect when it comes to financing for climate action?
Okay, thank you, Trevor, for having me. I was at African Climate Summit, and I'm glad that the youths came out in large numbers because we had the African Youth Climate Assembly as a precursor of the Africa Climate Summit, where we brought thousands of youths from across Africa. And one thing for sure that was in the in the Nairobi Declaration, that we also included the Youth Declaration, is the establishment of a global green bank. This global green bank is meant to help the youths access funds in an easier manner. So, and I would like to commend the national government for its efforts in bringing about the Africa Climate Summit, because it is through that the youths were able to come up with these ideas of establishing this bank that would bring easy financial access to the youths. Yeah. And this is also where political goodwill comes in, because if we are seeing the good political goodwill at the national level when it comes to financing our youths, it should also reflect at the county level. What if that fund now becomes operational? With the youths at the local level get the fund, because you have a lot of initiatives at the local level. Yeah. So I think coming up with a structure and a system at the county government, because it is at the local level, and we want to reach the local communities and the youths at the local level who are leading these initiatives. It will really come in handy when we are dealing with matters finance. Yeah.
Yes. Governor, what do you see as the greatest gap here? What are the biggest challenges for you to rescue your people from this? Because you seem to have done your part in terms of policies, but still the effects of climate change.
I think one of the challenges we must admit is that there is, like Waziri says, we don't have goodwill from the perpetrators. The second thing is that we are swimming in ignorance. Carbon credits, for example, is something that we should be benefiting from. If Kenya, I mean, our county, for example, now has about 40.8 forest cover. And if you really think about that, if we only got what we really deserved through carbon credit, it would be a lot of money going back to the farmer, because it is the farmers themselves who continue planting the trees, growing the coffee. But unfortunately, this is a new field that I think just the other day I sat with someone, I think Mr. Gareidi the other day, just to try and engage, just to see what can we do to tap into that carbon credit. We haven't done that. Well, of course, looking at now this new agitation through the COPs, the African climate, whatever, it is now for us to be aggressive. And I really must appreciate Nyeri as a county and its people. Trevor, you may not know this, but the last check we had is that after the president himself announced what he did, Nyeri had planted, the last check was about 5 million trees. This is something people are doing. The county government of Nyeri has spent in excess of about 100 million Kenya shillings so far in provision of avocado seedlings free of charge to the farmers to plant, so that even as we think about the tree, we are also thinking about food security. We have the macadamia that the elder is speaking about. We as a people are trying our level best. It is only unfortunate, and here we must say, and I think you must allow us to say this. When we look at the kind of financing that is coming through FLOCA, for example, every county got 11 million Kenya shillings. I'm sad to tell you that that money, since it's donor money, instead of us buying seedlings and planting, 11 million went into capacity building. So you need to tell me why we need 11 million to capacity build the people of Nyeri, who are already leading in this country in terms of forest cover. Wangari Maathai is a product of Nyeri, who spoke honestly about conservation. And here we are being told that we must spend 11 million Kenya shillings. Yeah. The same way Garissa will, the same way Mombasa will. Then you ask yourself, despite the fact that he who pays the piper gets the tune or calls the tune, I think we need our own African solutions to this matter, as opposed to what now is donor funding that is coming with ridiculous conditions and conditionalities. Because I was asking my waziri, now you have 11 million. Why don't you just buy seedlings? You have 11 million. Why don't you go and work on one of the dams in Nyeri or somewhere just to try and mitigate? But then, considering we are receiving the funding, I would still urge whoever is in charge to change the models. To change the models, have homegrown solutions, because what is good in London will not work here in Kenya. Like, we have our own ways, and we should be able to, and then let us also stop coming up with one uniform program for Kenya, because rightfully Nyeri is at 40.8. You should go to Vihiga and see where Vihiga is. Go to, we need to really look at it in that kind of way. And I want to say, I've just listened to what Kemaru has said here. Yes, it is important that we carry the youth along. And I want to appreciate all the youth that are involved, especially in Nyeri. We have quite a number of them who are really passionate about this, because it is them that will grow. And here, the likes of me and Kamuya must apologize to the future generations, because we might have been involved in charcoal burning. We might have been involved in cutting of trees. We might have been involved in, looking at this hall. I wish you ask yourself how many of these brown trees you can see. What you see as trees. We must make that apology ourselves, because we could have used something different. Thank you.
All right, let me bring in, speaking of younger generations, Baraka Mururi is here. He's a little Mr.